let's keep the conversation going now. Joining us from the US is retired US Navy Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery. It's good to see you, Mark. So first of all, let's just get your reaction to the events of the day so far. And there's been a lot that's been crammed in over the past few hours. The meeting is now just wrapped up and we're waiting for some official word from the White House. But backing things up, it's struck a rather upbeat tone today, don't you think?
Well, it hasn't been the worst day. No, I think President Trump and President Zelensky had a good meeting. Clearly, I mean, I think there's limitations to what they can get done together without having Putin in the room. I really think we knew this after the Putin meeting, that it really needed to be a trilateral discussion. One country invaded the other. You need those two countries in the room if you're going to resolve it most of the time. So the first thing I'd say is, there are limitations on what you can get, but boy, what a good move for the note from Zelensky's spouse to Melania Trump, thanking her for the letter about the Ukrainian children. That's a reminder to the base of the Republican Party that Donald Trump relies on. One of the most egregious offenses of the Ukrainians of the Russians against Ukraine is the theft of the 19,000 plus children.
Yeah, and also, I mean, on a lighter note, Zelensky not wearing the T-shirt today. He's gone the full suit, which was quite a humorous moment, but it just shows how far things have come since February.
No, I agree. And look, he clearly didn't have a throwdown with J.D. Vance. That's good. I think he got along well. Here's the other thing. President Trump, if you watch him, is always on pretty good behavior around Macron and Keir Starmer, and having both of them in the room. And he really likes Mark Rutte, the head of NATO.
Yeah,
those three people in the room just really make it harder for Trump to take a negative tone. So I suspect the meeting that occurred after the short press conference with the European leaders was meaningful. Because there are people in that room that President Trump listens to who are delivering that hard message that your reporter just said of, we need a ceasefire first, and we need to bring pressure on Putin if he won't make the concessions we need. And finally, we're going to need security, some kind of security guarantees that probably involve a reassurance force of probably UK and French soldiers.
But not US?
I think the United States, there's things that only we can do inside NATO. It's logistics, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and targeting. Those are three things that NATO simply can't function, or NATO forces that have traditionally belonged to NATO cannot do on their own. So I would be surprised if the United States were not involved in intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, run out of the U.S. Air Force slant NATO headquarters in Ramstein Air Base in Frankfurt, Germany, and then targeting that goes along with that. And then, of course, logistics. No one has a logistical capability like the U.S. Air Mobility Command. And so those are the kind of things that we uniquely do. We don't uniquely provide infantry soldiers. I think that can be done by France and the UK.
Okay. You mentioned that Putin wasn't there, Mark, and you are right. But according to multiple reports now, during that meeting, it was briefly interrupted because Donald Trump reportedly left the talks to phone Vladimir Putin, presumably, to get his thoughts on something that was brought up. So even though he wasn't there physically, he was there kind of indirectly. Are you encouraged about that?
Well, first, I thought maybe he called to say, hey, did you see that B-2? I just flew over the Kremlin this afternoon. But probably he called to clear something up. My guess is most of what Putin said on Friday was borderline false. And he's getting this whole other version of the facts, which are probably true, from the European team and President Zelensky. And he probably at one point, feeling that he needed to clarify, get clarification, or get an understanding, would reach out to Putin. That's the only reason I think he would do that so short circuit.
So do you think there will be a trilateral discussion now, or even four if Emmanuel Macron has his way by saying, well, someone from Europe's got to be involved as well? Do you think that'll happen as a next step?
So I think a multilateral meeting will be next. Look, Putin isn't going to want more than three. He's not going to want three. Putin likes two, him and Trump. I think Trump now realizes that will not get a Nobel Peace Prize. So then he's going to get he'll get Zelensky in there. I think the Europeans are right to push for them. It's hard to say who it should be. I don't think it's the European Union in this case, and I think NATO would put, having Mark Rutte there would put
Yeah.
Putin in the breakers.
Hey, this
So
is
you
just,
got to figure out who that
Yeah.
fourth person is.
No, that's true.